Yo, it's the MOPOWERZ, and we are BACK again. Back LIVE. I haven't seen you all in a minute live on this channel. And if this is your first time watching the MOPOWERZ, I ask that you share the information with relatives, friends, co-workers, anyone that you come into contact with. It is a magnificent way to jumpstart your conversation. And today's conversation, you all, just happens to come about because I was surfing through the channels. And in my surfing, I ended up coming upon the preacher man. Yeah, the Jesus man. Now, before we get started with this conversation, this is no disrespect. This is my disclaimer. This is no disrespect to anybody that believes in the Bible or Christianity. This is no disrespect to you. But I heard this preacher on TV talking about Jesus. And you know what he said? He said that you are born a sinner. You are a born sinner. I had to immediately turn up the volume a little bit. And I totally disagree with him. I totally disagree with him. And why is that, Mo? I'm going to tell you why. In the book of Genesis, chapter 28, you have Rebekah, Isaac, Jacob, and Esau, right? And just as just as Isaac is getting blind, he wants to pass on his blessing to his eldest son, which is Esau. But his mother, Rebekah, does what? She tells Jacob to go and do what? Go into the woods and in the wild and kill an animal and dress your body up like you're furry and everything so that your father would think that you're Esau. You see? So his mother, Rebekah, actually taught him how to be a sinner, how to be a deceiver. His mother taught him that. And his mother, according to nature, is his first teacher. Jacob, you, me, anybody else is not born a sinner. We are taught to be sinners. Would you agree or would you not agree? Not only that, Jacob then goes to his uncle's house, Labyrinth, which is Rebekah's brother, and he sees one of his daughters, and her name was Rachel, and he asks his uncle, can he marry her? Now, wait a minute. You see, first you go and do as your mother tell you to do, which is to deceive your father, which you did do. Then you go to your uncle's house, the eldest one, which according to the Bible is the ugly one. And he worked 7 years for that, paying for the sin to ask to marry his uncle's daughter. That's 7 years. Then he said, I'll give you Rachel if you work 7 more years. Had he not been taught by his mother how to sin, how to deceive, maybe he would not have spent 14 years working for his uncle to marry his cousin. Both of them Okay? I'm just saying. But he was taught by his mother to first deceive his father. And the mother, his mother, was the first teacher. Now, that is not to say that all mothers are deceivers. No, my mother wasn't deceitful. In fact, about it, if you were born in the 60s, like I was, there's a great chance that you grew up in a non-sinful house. No smoking, no drinking, had structure that you abided by, which kept family fabric in place. There's no family fabric anywhere because there is sinners running around all across the globe, even those whom you elect. But we're going to get to that in a minute. But Jacob learned how to sin from his mother, it's safe to say, because prior to that, we really don't have no knowledge of to what his child life was like. Did he cheat people for sheep? What was there to do back then? I'm just saying. And furthermore, if you really look at the Bible, God does the very same things that he tells you not to do. He tells you don't sin, but yet he kills people. Isn't that a part of his 10 commandments? But I'm sorry, that was in the book of Exodus. So you mean to tell me that it was okay for God to kill people back then, before the book of Exodus, where he gave Moses the 10 commandments? Because we're talking about the book of Genesis right now. Did not God prescribe people to go steal, go take other people's land, to kill all the men and spare the women? Isn't that the instructions of God? Were you not instructed to be a sinner? Question. No disrespect. Then you go off to a school. They send you off to a school. Yeah, public school. Any school that is ruled by a sinful government, a sinner government. And they teach you what they want you to know without knowing the truth. Without knowing the truth, because they hide how they conquered. But yet, you must remember that God even instructed people to go kill people. Yet he said that do not kill in the 10 Commandments. You're not born a sinner. You are born righteous. This is why a lie is so bad. Because you were born in righteousness. You were not born a sinner. You were born in sin. Yeah, obviously, because you got people like Rebecca, whom many people worship as being righteous. But she wasn't righteous when she told her son to deceive his father. Yet, in the 10 Commandments, it says, do as thou parents say do. Obey thy parents. Even though they are sinners, even though they are teaching me how to deceive, yet these are the characters that we hold in high esteem in the Bible. We even hold God high esteem in the Bible. But he tells you to go sin. I'm just saying. Had I not seen this reverend on TV, hey, this LIVE probably would not have existed, at least on this topic. But I don't need a lesson plan for that. I read so much sometimes till my eyeballs hurt. And speaking of reading, I want to send my condolences to Bobby Hemmett's family. Yes, the master teacher, Bobby Hemmett. He suffered a stroke last month. And if you all want to help him out, his family out, because they're going through some financial crisis, go to his website. Anyway, getting back to this, shouts out to Bobby Hemmett, man. Anyway, do you agree or disagree that you were taught how to sin? Who taught you how to sell drugs? Who taught you how to bag dope? Who put a gun in your hand? When I grew up, my grandfather had a gun, but he was a peaceful person. He didn't bother nobody. He used it for protection, the protection of his family. Just as some other cultures of people do, they just have it for protection. But they're not going out killing anybody, even in the heat of anger. Some people do, some people don't. It doesn't matter what type of skin tone you are, because you got 11-year-old kids over there in Afghanistan shooting AK-47s. They're taught that by somebody. Who taught you to sin? Because you're not born sinful. Look, or maybe even God. God said that you're created in his image and in his likeness, right? And you say that God is perfect, right? When you're a baby, you haven't done anything to anybody. You don't owe anybody any debt. You haven't killed nobody. You haven't said anything wrong to anybody. But yet you're born a sinner. No, you are taught how to sin. You are taught how to sin. Even God himself had evolved to become sinful. If you look in the first book of Samuel, chapter 27, even God had an evil spirit, but he didn't have it in the beginning. Just think, how long did it take you as a person to become a wicked person or an evil person or a person who sought revenge? How long did it take you to become that? What was your environment? What was your circumstance? Who was your teachers? What were you surrounded by? I'm just saying. You were born righteous. You can evolve to be a sinner, but you were not born a sinner. You were born righteous. It is the evils of the world and the structures of the world, the disproportionate economic conditions of the world, even from the treatment of your parents, can make you a wicked person, or they can continue to have you in a structured environment that keeps you righteous. This is why you have good people in the world and you have bad people in the world. You can go in some places across the country, and the things that go on in one section of a community, depending upon whom you are, meaning your skin tone, things that take place in one community doesn't take place in another community. And then you have people who think that, let's put it this way. How many places in America can you go whereas you have a lot of righteousness? Where would you go? Where would you perceive that to be at? Where would you perceive that to be at? Either have a righteous place or a non-righteous place. As my grandmother would say, there's no place to run. You have to make your heaven. You have to make your hell. You're going to be righteous or you're going to be evil. You were not born a sinner. You were born in righteousness. I probably went off the subject a little bit, but I had to catch myself. But we're going to leave that live right here. And I want you to think about that. I want you to ask yourself that question that I saw on TV with the preacher man when he said that you are born a sinner. No, you are not born a sinner. You are born in sin. Even your flesh is not sinful. I want to tell you that. Even your flesh is not sinful. It is a covering for who you are to make you exist as a human being. Your flesh does not make you sinful. Your desires of the flesh, as they would say, could make you sinful, but your flesh is not. Your flesh is a gift from God, from the universe, from whoever you perceive God to be. That's from God. That's not sinful. You need this to exist in this atmosphere. You need this space contraption to exist in this atmosphere. Had it not been for this space contraption, which is the largest organism on your body, skin, flesh, how is it sinful? Miseducation is how they made it sinful. Just how they make up look down, down look up, right look left, right, you know? It's how you were educated. It's how you were taught. It's how you were raised, reared, and where. Now I want you to go over there and tell those 11-year-olds who got those AK-47s, and you tell them that they're sinning because they're fighting their enemy. The enemy that's killing their family members. Do you think they want to do that? Anybody want to live in a hostile world, which we do live in, a very hostile world today, but it wasn't always this way. Hell, it wasn't always this way as a child when I was growing up. I'm just saying. You were not born a sinner. Just like if you are a racist, a white supremacist racist, you weren't born that way. Somebody taught you how to be a white supremacist. Somebody taught you that. Whether if it been your parents, whether if it been your uncle, your brother, your friend, somebody taught you that. They instilled some information in your mind to say that black people are all niggers, bad, and they deserve to die. Somebody put that in your head. Somebody gave you some information in your hand to make you go sin, to make you go sin, to make you hate. You were not born hateful. You were born righteous. You may have had some racist parents, racist friends. They taught you that. Hey, you can put young kids in the classroom, which I've always had. Great example. Black, white, Chinese, Puerto Rican, any color you want to in the crayon box. You can put them all in the classroom, 5 years old, 6 years old. They don't fight, argue, and do stupid shit like adults do. In fact, about it, I find children sometimes to be more intelligent than adults. I'm just saying. And they can play, they can get along with each other, they can work on projects. But if you are a child, 9 times out of 10, you are in the sole custody and teaching of your parents. You did? You think about that. You all put that in your Rolodex. You were not born a sinner. You were born a righteous person. Someone deceived you, just as with Eve and the snake in the Garden of Eden, right? She was doing all fine until the serpent came to teach her. I'm just saying. You think about that. And what he taught her is a whole nother story. But to stay on this particular topic, because that leads off into something else, you were not born a sinner. You were born righteous. You were not born a racist. Someone taught you that. Someone taught you how to sin. Your economic problems, you're poor, which causes crime. But someone caused you to do that. Had it been money been equally divided, or whatever the situation may have been economically back then, is the same economic situation that it is today. People are still starving. People are still committing crimes because of poverty and lack of opportunity. They weren't born that way, but they go off to school and they go off to church and say that if you do this here, that it's a sin and it's wrong, yet the very same system that they're living under, which is causing them to commit crime, is sinful. I'm just saying. Leave that in your Rolodex as your brother, the MOSHOW Chicago and POWERZ, where knowledge is power. If this is your first time watching the show, press the subscribe button. If it's not your first time watching the show, press the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get the new videos that I upload. And also, do what? Put that in your Rolodex. Remember, knowledge is power, and it is your third eye that makes you shine like jewelry. Remember, you are born righteous. You are not born a sinner. Thanks for viewing, you all. Peace out.